to catch the YouTube stream, it's over on the Shy Hat YouTube channel. And okay, so I see user LC says that there are not very many people here. That's fine. We're gonna do a warm-up exercise, and hopefully some people come out. Some people show up while we're doing the warm-up exercise. User WW says will receive a certificate for finishing the camp. So this course, the HackerFrogs course, is for your own education. There's not necessarily a certificate, but what I'm hoping is that people become interested in learning more about cybersecurity and explore it on their own. I hope everybody's having fun learning about this hacker stuff. But yeah, so we have our live stream, which is over at the following address. Let me grab the link for everybody and provide it to everybody in the chat. So hope everybody is having a good week. It's coming to an end. TGIF, everybody. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be working through. Let's work through a warm-up exercise. I think there was one of the Pico CTF challenges that we didn't get to. In one of our sessions. I think it was called "Don't Use Client Side." So this one right here, if you have done this one, let me know. Otherwise, let's try solving this one together. So we're just going to try to solve this one quick, and hopefully by the time we finish, there are more people in the call so that we don't have to explain some stuff again. All right, so this is the Don't Use Client-Side Challenge. This is another web exploitation challenge, and we should have the skills to be able to solve this challenge with what we know right now. So if you're here, then you need to open the link over here. So right-click and put this one in a new tab in order to access the challenge website over here. So if you're on the challenge website, please let us know by typing in the chat, I'm on the page, smiley face. If you need a little bit of time to log in, let us know in the chat, and we'll wait a little bit for you. All right, so this is, for this challenge, why don't you try to race me to the flag and try to complete the challenge first. So use all of the techniques that you've learned in the past, stuff like robots.txt or looking at the source code and other fun stuff like that. And otherwise, I'll start explaining how to finish this challenge in just a few moments. So it says here that this is the secure login portal. Enter valid credentials to proceed, but we don't know what the valid credentials are. Inside of the challenge description, it only says, can you break into this super secure portal? So on the page, we could just put in any old credentials and click on the verify button. And then we get a pop-up, it says incorrect password. Okay, so if we take a look at the HTTP source by doing the right click and clicking on view page source, we see that there's a bunch of JavaScript on here, but suspiciously, there's this JavaScript right here, which is a function called verify. So over here, we know what type of language this is because it says script type equals JavaScript, and then we have this this cut up string right here. So we've got Pico and CTF. So this is obviously the flag that we're looking for, and this is what we're going to be putting into the web app. Except that it's all cut up, it's all split. So we can't easily look at this. We can't easily put it all together again. What we could do is we could highlight each part of this. So this is split 0. and then this is what it is. We could try copying this and pasting this in a place where we can keep track of it. And we know that after Pico comes CTF, so this is split to split 2, and we could copy this. Okay, sorry about that, user LC, your microphone came on for a second. But we could just look and painstakingly copy and paste all these different parts of the flag. The easier thing to do would be to use ChatGPT to help put this together. So what we can do is just copy the whole script over here and then go over to ChatGPT and ask us to do it for us. So maybe let me get to my ChatGPT page. So over here, we can just put in the prompt, please put the string together for me, and then paste in the code. And the chatbot should be able to put this all together for us. And some people might say that this is cheating, but hacking is cheating. So we use all the tools that are available to us. So what we would do is just copy this, and we know that this is the so user AD is here. They said that they just joined. We were just doing a warm-up exercise before the main content of today's lesson. But if you want to know, then we're doing this challenge right here on Pico CTF, and I'll provide the link in the chat for everybody again. So what we did was we asked ChatGPT to put the string together for us, and we were able to get this flag. So if we go back to the challenge page, it's going to say entered the valid credentials. All we need to do is paste in what we got from ChatGPT, and we click on verify. And it says password verified. So we know that is the correct flag. So what we need to do is just go back to the challenge description page and then paste in the flag and then click on submit flag, and we are finished. Okay, so for the people who just arrived now, we were just doing a warm-up exercise to begin the class. And if anybody is interested, we were doing this exercise over here. Today we have a GitHub page that we're using to keep track of all the links and the other websites that we're using today. And you can find it over at this link. Okay, let me paste that to everybody. Okay. User LC says it doesn't let me verify. It doesn't let you verify. That's strange. Are you talking about on the web page where it is blue and it is yellow, or do you mean on the challenge page, the Pico CTF one right here? It doesn't let you verify. It doesn't give you the flag. Okay. So let me just provide the flag. So I'll provide this one in the GitHub page, and then you guys can try pasting it into the web page, okay? And let me just make a little header for this. This will be called don't use client-side flag. Okay, and I'm going to commit that, save it. Okay, so why don't you try using the flag from the bottom of the page on the GitHub page here. Just copy this one. I think it should be the same for everybody, but I'm not sure. It could be that this is individualized. If you try this one and you don't get You don't get your flag. It didn't work, sadly. Okay. If you want to, we could go over the challenge again at the after the session is over. But let's move on to our main topic today. Okay. So if you want, we can review that later. All right. So today we're talking about databases. So we're going to be doing an intro to the SQL language with the SQL murder mystery. So this is a game that's online, the kind of educational game, and we'll talk more about it in just a little bit. So this is the 5th workshop for intro to web app hacking. Let's take a few moments to review the concepts we learned in the previous workshop. In the previous workshop, we talked about OS command injection. So it's a web app vulnerability where arbitrary OS commands can be performed on a web server through a web interface. So I'd like to point out to everybody in the call, if there are any of the web app hacking concepts that you didn't quite understand, such as OS command injection or the local file inclusion vulnerability, anything like that, let us know, and maybe we can take some time after the session is over to do some extra explanation for people who need a little more help, okay? So OS command injection can often lead to complete compromise of the web server, and if so, the server can be used as a foothold to attack other machines on the network. So now on to our topic. We're going to be talking about the SQL database language. So the question is, what is SQL? Structured Query Language, abbreviated to SQL or SQL, is a programming language used for managing data held in relational databases. Simply put, SQL allows users to access and manage data contained in relational databases, which are common components of most web applications. So something that I didn't really understand when I started learning about web app hacking is that there's a certain technology that is present on most websites where you're able to log in, and it's called SQL. And SQL is the database that holds all of the user credentials, the usernames and the passwords. So this is something that we have to learn how to use and abuse to do web app hacking. So as far as web app hacking is concerned, insecure implementations of SQL in web apps can lead to a very serious vulnerability called SQL injection. So if you do web app hacking, you're going to hear this term a lot. SQL injection, or just injection vulnerabilities in general. It's basically where you can inject code into the web app to have it do what the hacker wants it to do. So we will learn about SQL injection in a later workshop, but we should first learn how to use SQL in its intended manner before we learn how to abuse it. So today what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be learning how to use SQL as it was intended, as to look up different information in a database. So let's learn SQL through a game. In the web browser, we're going to go to the following URL. So it's going to be the Night Lab website, and it's we're going to be doing the walkthrough version of it. So it is over here, and you can access it through this link right here. So this is a game where you're supposed to solve a murder mystery. Today, we're not necessarily going to be completing the murder mystery game, but we will be using this database in order to illustrate how to use the database. So it says here, there's been a murder in SQL City. It's supposed to be a self-directed lesson to learn SQL concepts and commands, and a fun game for experienced SQL users. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using this game over here to access its database and learn about how to use the database. But if you'd like, after we're finished with this lesson, you can come back to this game and you can try to solve it. But the thing is that it involves a lot of advanced techniques inside of the SQL language, so it might be a little bit difficult to do. All right, so let's go back to the presentation and we'll talk a little bit more about SQL. So inside of the SQL database structure, we have a bunch of systems basically, and the largest unit in the SQL system is the database. So the database is it's just a bunch of information, and it's broken down into a couple of different hierarchies. We'll start talking about these. So the biggest object in the database is the database itself. Let's see. User HD says, "Can we do don't use client side now?" We might have time to look over that challenge one more time at the end of the session, but we have to get through the lesson on the SQL database first. Okay. All right. So the largest unit inside of the database is the database itself. And the database contains one or more tables. So inside of a database, we have a bunch of tables, and in each one of these tables, there's a bunch of information about a specific thing. So tables themselves are made up of two types of elements. And inside the tables, there are columns whose names identify the data that should be entered into them. So here we've got a bunch of columns like ID, name, license ID, address number, address street name, social security number, and these are all about this is information all about these people. And we have rows, which contain data entries that correspond to the columns that they fall under. So basically, each one of these is a row that is underneath these columns, and it tells you information related to the columns over here. Okay. So the first thing, so as hackers, we're looking for very specific information from databases, and we'll go over what kind of information we're looking for starting now, okay? So the thing we have to understand about these SQL databases is that they come in a lot of different flavors. So there are different types of SQL software. For example, what is called MySQL, PostgreSQL, SQLite. It's important to know what kind of SQL that we're using. So over on, let's see, over on the murder mystery website, this database over here uses what is called SQLite, and there are some clues as to what kind of SQL that we're dealing with, but most of the time we have to do some searching to find out what kind of SQL we're dealing with. But the first thing we need to do is figure out what kind of SQL that the database is using. For example, the murder mystery is using something called SQLite. And let's take a look at another website. So I've got another website over here, and this website is called SQL Zoo. It's another SQL education website, and I'll provide the link to that one in the chat for everybody. So this site right here is using a type of SQL called MySQL. But before that, let's talk a little bit about how we use the database, okay? And so we'll talk about the select command. So basically, inside of SQL, we use the select command. It's the most common SQL command, which returns SQL entries depending on what additional parameters are provided. So we use select, and then we usually use select, then a column, and then we have to select from, and then the table name over here. So let's go back to the murder mystery website. So on the murder mystery website, if we scroll down to this first window over here, we can select something from person. What I want you to do is I want you to select star. So I want you to select star from person. And what this does is it's going to return all of the columns. The star stands for all of the columns. And we're going to select it from the person table. So just use this command here, select star from person, and then click on the run button here. And you should see this, this big list of names over here. So okay, so one more time, you want to use this link. And then you want to scroll down to where it used to say, select count from person. I want you to edit it so that it says select star from person and click on the run button. And then you should see all of these names and columns over here. If you're able to do so, please type in the chat, I just SQL'd, smiley face. Okay, great. Okay. So you see here that we have these column names right here. We've got ID and name and license ID, address. So this is what happens when we select all of the columns in the table, and all the columns is signified by the star over here. So what I want you to try next is I want you to try just selecting name from person and running this one again. So just edit this so that it just says name, which is the name of this column, and then run it again. And then we should just get the names from this table. We can also get multiple columns at once. So we could get the ID and then and also the name. So this is 2 columns. And we do that by doing ID, well, the first column you want to receive, and then the comma, and then the second column you want to get. And then click on the run button over here. Okay, so if you edited this and you get 2 columns here, please type in the chat 2 columns. So these are the basics of how you use SQL. You're basically getting information from tables. So you get information from tables, and you get specific columns, or you can get all the columns. But this is very basic. But when we're doing web app hacking, we don't necessarily have to do very complicated search queries. Let's talk a little more about this. So the first thing we have to do inside of a SQL system as a hacker is that we need to figure out what kind of software is being run. But the other thing we need to do is we need to figure out what the name of the database is. So inside of the SQL murder mystery, you can use this command right here. Select SQLite version. Oh no. Yeah, select SQLite version, and that's going to give you the version information of this particular type of software. So let me type that out. So it's going to be select SQLite underscore version, and this is a function. If we go over to here and we just type that in, select SQLite underscore version with the brackets, and we run that, it's going to tell us what kind of which version of the SQL software is running. So the interesting thing about SQLite is that there's only one database that can be run with SQLite. But if we go over to this website, which is the SQL Zoo, on this website, we can get the name of the databases by doing a very simple command, which is called show databases, like this. So I see a message from YouTube from great info. I really like your videos. Thank you very much. I appreciate your compliments. I try to make my videos easy for beginners to understand. So we're going to, inside of the SQL Zoo over here, we're going to, you don't have the link to the SQL Zoo? Let me get you the link to the SQL Zoo. So in the SQL Zoo link over here, this is using a different system. This is using MySQL, and you'll figure out that that MySQL is a very common type of SQL, but there are other systems that use different types of SQL as well. But inside of MySQL, you can just use the Show Databases option, and then you can submit this. And then you're going to see that there are a few different databases inside of the system over here. So there's one called Adventure and Help Desk and Scott for whatever reason. But yeah, so this is some information that that we want to get as hackers. So as soon as we know what databases are in the system, we can also select which database to access. And we do that with the use command. So you can use and then the database name, and then we'll have access to that database. So if we go back to the SQL Zoo and say we wanted to access the adventure database, we would just use the command use adventure and then click on submit. And this means, well, it doesn't show a result over here, but we should be switched over to the adventure database so that we can start looking at what is inside of the adventure database, okay? All right, so after that, the next step is to list out which tables exist in the database. So when we arrive on a system, on an SQL system, we don't know what databases exist. So we have to search for the names of the database and then access the database. And then after we've accessed the database, we have to figure out what tables are in the database. So inside of MySQL, which is what the SQL Zoo uses, we would use the following command, show tables. And then, so inside of SQL, most of our commands have to end with this semicolon over here. So back at the SQL Zoo, we would do show tables and then semicolon and then submit it. And then we see all the tables inside of this adventure. So there's a lot of them. There's a lot of tables in here. So if you use the show tables in the SQL Zoo over here, and you see all these tables over here, please let us know by typing in I see the tables. So we need to figure out what the database is and then what the tables are. And then the next step is figuring out what information is inside the tables. So in MySQL, for each one of these tables, we can get the columns from the table by using the describe keyword, which is basically describe and then the table name and then the semicolon, and then it'll tell you what columns are in that table. So let's try this out over on SQL Zoo. So we've got our address table in here. So let's describe it. Describe address. I think the SQL systems may or may not be what is it? Case sensitive. So they might care about using uppercase and lowercase letters, but they might not. So you can experiment a little bit. But if we're to do describe address, which is this table over here, and submit it, then we're going to get all the different columns inside of this table over here. There's a column called address ID and address line, city, state, province, etc., etc. Okay, so this is what we need to know as hackers. We need to know the name of the database, the name of the tables, and the names of the columns inside the tables. So after that, naturally what we want to do is we want to get all the information from the table, which is also called dumping the table. So we do that by using the command that we used before, which is select star from the name of the table. So this one is address. Okay, so if we do select star from address and click on submit, then it's, well, we don't actually get all the information in here, strangely enough. But if we did the same thing in the SQL murder mystery over here, so let's get the information from the person table. So one more time, let's go back to using the SQL murder mystery, which is at this link. And let's try getting all the information from the person table. Does anybody remember what the command is? It is select star from person. Okay? And then we get all the information from the person table. So another thing that we can do is we can filter our requests a little bit, just in case we were looking for something very specific. So we can use the where filter with our SQL commands, and it's going to allow us to look for very specific information to be returned from our search query. So for example, if we were looking for a specific name, then we could use that specific name. Say we know that there's a person called Kinsey Erickson on the system, and we just want their information. User from YouTube says sup. I also say sup. Hello. How are you? Okay. So let's try this one. So let's try getting the getting this information about Kinsey Erickson. So let me type this in the chat for reference. Select star from person where name equals Kinsey Erickson. And let's try that over on the SQL murder mystery. So star from person where name. So we're looking in the name column and we're looking for a specific name. And let's call this Kinsey Erickson. Okay, let's run this. Okay, it looks like we need to use, let's use single quotes instead of double quotes. And run this again. Oh, no. We have to use the equal sign. So where name equals Kinsey Erickson. Sorry about that. Okay, and then we click on the run button, and then we get only Kinsey Erickson's information over here. User in YouTube, I'm teaching a class right now, so I can't solve your CTF challenge, unfortunately. Sorry about that. All right. So using this command, we can just get. Okay. So you can't. So just so you know, you can't copy text from Zoom. That's just something that you can't do. But just try typing it out. Select star from person where name equals Kinsey Erickson, and just put this one inside of some quotes. And try running that. And you should see Kinsey Erickson's information over here. If you can do it, let people know in the chat by typing out, I see Kinsey. But this is useful just in case you were looking for information about the username admin, or something very common. So for example, if we were looking for admin to see if admin is on the system and we're to run this, then no data is returned. But we're going to look at another way to filter your requests that might be a little more helpful. And in this case, it's the like operator. It's the like operator in the percent wildcard. So the like operator is used with the percent wildcard character to return partial matches. The percent symbol matches any characters on its respective side of the string, and this is what we do to look for. We can look for partial matches, like if we're to try to look for everybody on the system that's named John, or everybody on the system whose last name is Smith, we could probably use the like operator right here. In this case, we're doing select star from person where name is like John, and John is what we're looking for. And on either side of the John inside of the database, it could be anything. So let's try this. So inside of the SQL murder mystery, let's look for anybody named John. So select star from person where name equals John. We're not looking for the name equals John. We're looking for the name like John. So like John, and we are going to surround this with a couple of percentage signs. So this is going to match for anywhere where the name is somewhere in the name there's John. So let's run this. And then we get a bunch of results. So let me type that out in the chat. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to copy this. So select star from person where name like John. So if you look over here, so we've got John, but we've also got Johnny, and we also have Catter John. So this is going to hit with anything that has John as the actual name, or just part of the name, or part of the last name. Okay, so next, what we're going to do is we're going to try solving a challenge over at PicoCTF, and the PicoCTF challenge involves using SQL. So we're going to use our SQL skills to solve a PicoCTF challenge, and the challenge in this case is called SQL Direct. So this is the challenge over here. I'll provide the link to everybody. So everybody, this is going to give you an instance that you have to connect to, which also means that you're going to have to use your web shell. So before you launch your instance, I suggest that you start up your web shell, because we're going to be using the web shell to access the SQL server. So just remember, you can click on this button right here to put the web shell in its own browser tab. And we're going to have to put in our username here. So this is my username. Please use your own. And I'm just going to have to grab my password. Okay, and we're going to put in our password. Okay, everybody. So if you have your web shell up and running and you're ready to do the challenge, please type in the chat, web shell up, smiley face. Okay, everybody. So we're going to be using SQL to solve this challenge. And let's see if we can use some of the skills we learned about SQL to get the information we need to solve the challenge, okay? And one more time, we need to access this challenge over here, which is called SQL Direct. So to start the challenge, okay, before we start the challenge, let's read the description. The description says, connect to this PostgreSQL server and find the flag. Additional details will be available after launching your challenge instance. So let's launch the challenge over here. So just click that button. And after a few seconds, you're going to get instructions on how to connect to the server. So we received this command right here, and this is the command we're going to use inside of the web shell to connect to the SQL server. So you just need to copy this. And remember, when it asks you for the password is Postgres, just like this. So let's go over to the web shell, and let's paste in the command. So this is basically the program that we use to connect to the server. It's going to connect to this host on this port, and the user is going to be Postgres, and we're going to connect to the Pico database. So just user P asks, what's the difference between Python and SQL? So Python is a general programming language, and SQL is a programming language that is only used for databases. But there's a lot of similarities between one programming. Well, there are some similarities between one programming language and another programming language. But just know that SQL is only for databases. So after we hit enter, it's going to ask us for the password. And the password is the same thing as the username. It's Postgres. Okay, so after that, we're now inside of our database. So like it says here, you can type help for help. And it says you are using PSQL, the command line interface to PostgreSQL. So we can get so we can use the following commands to get help about the different commands we can do. So we can do -h to get help. And this is a lot of help. So I think what inside of here, we can just press Q to quit. Yeah, so we can press Q to quit after we get into that, okay? So this is not the version of SQL that we were dealing with before. So if we want to get the name of the database, we have to use a different command. So everybody, let's search for the way we get the database using PostgreSQL. So over on our search, we can just search for database name PostgreSQL. What is my PostgreSQL database name? So the current function current database returns the name of the current database. Okay, so we can just use this command right here, current database. So back at the terminal, current underscore database. And it doesn't return anything. User LC says the list command works. So you can do list. So \list, and it shows you the names of the databases over here. So I'm going to tell you that most of the time when I'm dealing with new software, my go-to tool for figuring out the commands is usually going to be something like ChatGPT. So I'll ask ChatGPT, using PostgreSQL, how do we list out database is on the system? And it's usually going to give you the correct answer. So it could be just \L. So \L, and then we get the names of the databases over here. So we've got Pico, we've got Postgres, we have template 0 and template 1. So user P, thank you for telling me the time. You don't need to tell me the time because I'll try to aim to get the session finished on time. Thank you very much. Okay, so next thing we need to do is we need to figure out what the tables are inside of this database. So how do we figure out how to look at the tables on this database? So once again, we can search for it. And one thing, if you know the name of the software you're using, you can search for PostgreSQL, and then you can look for what's called the cheat sheet. And the cheat sheet is going to give you all of the common commands you use for this software. So if you look for the cheat sheet, you're going to find this page right here, and I'll provide this link in the chat for everybody. So it tells you how to quit. It shows you how to list all the databases, list all the schemas. So to list all the tables in the current database, it's \DT. So let's do that. So inside of our terminal, we can do \DT, and it says that there is one table in here called flags. So obviously what we need to do is we need to get the information from the flags table. But before we do that, let's do one last thing. So what we want to do is we want to figure out what the columns are inside of the flags table. So let's go back to the cheat sheet. And in order to get detailed information on a table, it says we do /d+ and then the table name. So let's try that. So it's going to be /d+ and then the name of the table, which is flags. So after we do that, it says here that we have an ID, a first name, a last name, and an address in this table. I think in order to exit out of here, we just need to type Q to quit, and that should get us out. All right, so does anybody remember what the command is to dump all the information out of a table? So if you look back at, if you know, please let us know in the chat. Otherwise, I'll explain it in just a little bit, and then we can get the flag. Okay, so to get all the information from a table, we just need to use the following command. It's going to be select, and then all the columns, if you remember, is going to be star. And then we have to use from, and then the name of the table. So it's select star from the name of the table. In this case, it's flags. Usually we have to complete the line with the semicolon, and then we hit enter. So select star from flags. I'm not sure why that didn't work. Syntax error near current database. I think I might have used an incorrect. I think you guys should be able to see it, but I think I did something wrong inside of inside the database, and that's why it's not letting me see it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to exit. Oops, /q, /q to quit. Use Control D to quit. Okay. And I'm going to connect one more time. Okay, so the password is postgres. Okay, so we know the name of the table is flags, so we're going to select star from flags. Okay, so now it's okay. So we got all the information from this table here, and user AD says that they need help. All right, user AD, please tell us what is going on with your software, and we'll tell you how to. Maybe we can help you out. User AD says, when you use DT, it said the server closed the connection. That means the server terminated abnormally. Oh, okay. So what I think happened is that your server might have reset. So what I want you to do is I want you to go over to the challenge page, and I want you to check whether or not the instance time is here. And if it is, then that means that your server is still running. If you see the blue button, that means you need to restart your instance. Okay? So if that's the case, just press the blue button and you should be able to restart your instance. So for everybody else, when you do this command right here, select star from flags with the semicolon, you should be able to see the flag over here. Okay, so if you see the blue button, then click on the blue button, and then you should be able to restart your challenge instance. And then you can use the command that appears over here to log in. You see red. Okay, so what I want you to do inside of your terminal here is I want you to use Control D to exit the server. So it's Control D, and then I want you to copy this command on the description page, then go back to your terminal and paste it in, and then log in with Postgres. Okay, so one more time, after you get into your terminal, we determined that the name of the table is flags, so we just need to do select star from flags, and then semicolon, and then we should be able to get the flag, okay? Okay, let's see, user LC, do you still have a problem, or did the problem resolve itself? So if you're here, then you can copy the flag, then go back to the challenge description page, and then paste in the flag and click on submit flag. and then you should be finished with the challenge. Okay, so everybody, let us know if you managed to complete the challenge by typing in the chat, "I got the flag," smiley face. If you're still having trouble, let us know, and we'll try to help you out and get you to where you can read the flag. Okay. So the thing what we learned today is that there's something called an SQL database, and these databases are very common on web applications. So if we were able to get access to them, then we can take a look at all the information inside the database with a few different commands. Sometimes we're going to encounter a version of SQL that we haven't used before, so we have to do some research about what kind of commands we need to access the information. Okay, so let's take a look at the. So one thing that I want to tell everybody about before we finish today's session is that there was recently a Google CTF that happened a couple of months ago, and it was called the Beginner's Quest. So I'm going to leave the link in the chat for everybody. So basically, what this is an example of a beginner-friendly CTF. You may be able to finish some of the easier challenges on this in this CTF over here. Most of the time, when you have CTF competitions, there's going to be a bunch of challenges that range from very easy to very difficult in a bunch of different categories. For example, on this page over here, we've got crypto challenges that have to do with cryptography. We haven't learned that yet. There are forensics ones. There are web ones. So we did a little bit about web app hacking, and there are a couple of challenges in the web app category that you should be able to finish if you do a little bit of research. We've got miscellaneous challenges. We've got pwn challenges, which are basically little Linux challenges most of the time. And then we have reverse engineering, which is a little bit more advanced. But what I want you to do is I want you to try some of these challenges over here. In particular, we've got our web challenges over here, and there's a challenge called Doors Everywhere. There's part 1 and part 2. If you take a look at these challenges, you should be able to finish them with a little bit of research. I want you to try these two challenges out if you have a little bit of spare time between now and Monday, okay? So the next session is going to be on Monday at the same time. And yeah, I hope to see you there. To anybody who still needs a little bit of help, or if you want me to help you out with the beginner challenge, the beginning challenge that we did at the start today, which is called Don't Use Client Side. So this one right here, you're welcome to stay a little bit after the session is over. Otherwise, you are free to go, and we will see you back on Monday. We're going to be learning about SQL injection vulnerabilities, okay? So we're going to be expanding on today's lesson on SQL, and we're going to be talking about the hacking exploit, which is called SQL injection, all right? So don't use client side is over here. If there's anybody who's interested in solving this challenge and didn't have time to do it today, let me know in chat. But if you do not have any questions or any other concerns, then you're free to go. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back on Monday, okay?